everybody, Simistic this here again to talk to you about what I bought and what I watched today. And today, headed out to one of my local pawn shops, picked myself up a bunch of great titles on DVD, so let's take a look at what I got. The first title I picked up for only $2 was a special edition release of Winnie the Pooh, A Valentine for You. Now, I do already own the original release of this on DVD, but I figured for $2, it was certainly worth the upgrade. I love Winnie the Pooh, I love Disney, and if I can get it for cheap, I will always upgrade. However, I did notice something different about this release from the original. And that's the fact that this says it has a running time of only 50 minutes, where the original says it has a running time of 60 minutes. So is there actually a difference? I don't know. I tried looking it up online, couldn't find anything out. From what I read, nothing was cut out of this release, so I don't know if it's just listed as different running times and it's actually the same running time or not. So if you have any idea, please let me know. I would love to know if there's actually a difference between the special edition and the original release, but like I said, for $2, definitely had to upgrade. And then for another $2, picked up Alvin and the Chipmunks Go to the Movies, Funny We Shrunk the Kids. I'm simply trying to get all the Alvin and the Chipmunks DVD releases, so for $2, had to pick this one up. Then for $3, I grabbed Splice. And this here's a movie that I've wanted to see ever since it was first released to DVD and Blu-ray, because this movie, I actually don't remember being in theaters. I don't remember seeing any ads for it, don't remember anybody talking about it. That is until it came out to DVD and Blu-ray, and then I heard people talking about it on certain websites, and from what I've read, it's actually a pretty decent movie, but it's still a movie that I really didn't know much about, so I didn't want to pay anything high for it. And I have seen this a few times pretty cheap on Blu-ray. I think I've seen around $7 on Blu-ray, which I considered picking it up for that cheap, but again, it's still a movie that I'm not quite sure about. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I'm not 100% sure what the movie's about. So I just have been passing on it for a while now, so I figured for $3, it was worth picking up, and I definitely look forward to checking it out. Then for only $3 a piece, picked up 3 Criterion Collection DVD releases, and the first one was The Discreet Charm of the... whatever that word is right there. I actually tried looking this word up on Google to see how you pronounce it, and I was even confused how you pronounce it once they actually broke it down. Even then I was like, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word. Maybe it's simpler than I think, but I have no idea how you say that, so I will not even attempt it, and I will not screw it up. This movie here is a complete blind buy. I know nothing about it, but it does get good reviews online, and it's a Criterion Collection, so for $3, this was a must-buy. Then the next Criterion release I picked up was Wild Strawberries, another movie I know absolutely nothing about, another complete blind buy, but once again, $3 for a Criterion Collection DVD release. It was a no-brainer, had to pick it up. It actually gets good reviews, so I look forward to checking it out. And the last Criterion Collection DVD I picked up was Smiles of a Summer Night. Once again, another complete blind buy, but another movie that does get good reviews. And also, it's a Criterion Collection for $3, so I certainly wasn't going to pass this one up. And the last DVD I picked up today was X-Files: The Complete First Season. Got this for $10, which isn't really the best deal ever for a used copy of X-Files Season 1. Even though it's in great condition, the discs have no scratches or smudges on them, it's still a bit more than I would normally like to pay for a used copy of a season of X-Files, because I do come across these seasons brand new for around $10 usually. So it does seem like I'm paying brand new prices for a used title, which I wasn't exactly thrilled about doing, but I have wanted to start collecting these. I do not have any X-Files seasons in my collection. I just have a few random episodes on VHS, but I really wanted to start getting the season sets, so I figured for $10, it was worth starting off my collection. So that's it for what I bought today, so now it's what I watched. And today I actually checked out 2 Halloween-related titles, and the first one was John Carpenter, which is a documentary about John Carpenter. This here was a pretty decent documentary. I wouldn't say it was anything special, not the best documentary I've ever seen. It is only an hour long, so it could have been a little bit extended, but for the most part, it was a well-done documentary that I would say, if you can get it for cheap, it's worth picking up. They do pretty much talk about it for the most part his entire career, I think up to somewhere around, I think, Ghosts of Mars. I think that's kind of where they end off, although they don't even really talk about that movie, they just kind of mention it. For the most part, they stick to his early career, and I think the last movie they really talk about is Vampires. I think that's actually the last movie they really go into. Everything after that, like I said, they do kind of just mention it really quickly, but nothing much more after Vampires. I would say the one downfall to this documentary is the way they went about talking about his movies. They started out by saying, here's his first movie, here's his second movie, here's his third movie, and then here's his seventh, and then here's his fourth, and then here's his ninth, and here's his, like, eighth. You know, they just kind of skipped around after going through his, like, first 3 movies. They started to skip around. I didn't really like that. I really wish they would have gone in, you know, chronological order of his movies. I think that would have made more sense than skipping around, because towards the end of the movie, I started to think, are they going to leave out stuff like Prince of Darkness? Are they going to leave out stuff like The Thing? I mean, it just seemed like there were some movies that they weren't going to talk about, but they did end up getting to them just way out of order. So that I would have done differently if this was my documentary. Certainly wouldn't have skipped around like that. I would have gone in actual order. But for the most part, like I said, a great documentary. Has interviews from people like Jamie Lee Curtis, George Romero. I'm trying to think of who else. Kurt Russell. You know, a lot of people like that. People from his movies, other directors, other people who just admire John Carpenter. So it is, like I said, a decent documentary with some decent interviews. They do a pretty good job talking about his movies and his career. They actually interview John Carpenter a lot. He talks a lot about his movies and what went into making them and all that stuff, and just all this different things about his career. So yes, a documentary I would say is worth picking up if you're into John Carpenter, which I'm sure you guys all are. So if you can get this for a decent price, yeah, pick this one up. And the second Halloween title I checked out today was Prince of Darkness. Since I did just get done watching the John Carpenter documentary, I figured, why not watch a John Carpenter film? This is my first time ever watching this movie. Just picked this up a few days ago. Didn't really even know this movie existed. So I definitely wanted to check it out, especially since a lot of you guys told me it was great. And all things considered, yeah, it was a pretty decent John Carpenter movie. Would I say the best I've seen of his work? No, but I have seen a lot worse as well. So I would say this is like slightly above mediocre. Nothing special, but definitely a good watch if you're a John Carpenter fan. I did like the whole idea of them being kind of trapped in this building. It sort of had a Assault on Precinct 13 sort of feel, but, you know, with a bunch of horror sort of mixed in. That's kind of how I saw this movie, because it was a bunch of people sort of trapped in this building. They're trapped into a church, and they can't get out because there's these bums who are possessed. They're going to kill them if they get out. In fact, some try to escape, and they're killed off by the bums. Then there's the devil basically inside this church, and he's taking over people's bodies and possessing people, and you know, the shit's hitting the fan the entire time. It's just this group of people who are trapped in this building while other people are turning into, you know, are being possessed and attacking them, and, you know, they don't know who's who. It sort of almost also has a little bit of The Thing. I mean, John Carpenter seems to be really good at that, putting people kind of in a building and having them trapped in there. I mean, whether it's, you know, Assault on Precinct 13, whether it's The Thing, even Halloween, when, you know, in the end of the movie where they get trapped in the trapped in the house. You know, he seems to be really good at doing that, and this is no different. He does a great job at trapping people in a building and just watching the mayhem just unravel. So a great, great movie. But like I said, nothing, you know, necessarily above and beyond. It was just a little bit above mediocre, but it is a good John Carpenter film. Definitely one of his better movies. You know, not necessarily Halloween, not The Thing, not Assault on Precinct 13, you know, not quite that good, but definitely better than some of his later work. So when I say pick this one up, yes, definitely check out this movie. If you were a John Carpenter fan, you have to have this in your collection. You definitely have to check it out. I did really enjoy it. It was a good watch. So yes, Prince of Darkness, see it and pick it up. So that's it for what I bought when I watched today. Definitely picked up some great titles from my local pawn shop today. Looking forward to checking all those out. And also watching the John Carpenter documentary. I loved it. Thought it was great. I mean, yeah, it had its problems. Could have been a little longer. Could have been done actually in chronological order as opposed to skipping around all his movies. But for the most part, a great documentary with a bunch of great interviews. So if you can get it for a good price, I definitely recommend picking that up. And also watching Prince of Darkness, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great John Carpenter film. I mean, like I said, it's nothing above and beyond. It wasn't the best John Carpenter movie I've ever seen. It was a little bit above mediocre. That's the best way of describing it. But with that being said, it was still a good watch. And if you like John Carpenter movies, it's definitely one you need in your collection. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned to see what I bought when I watch tomorrow. See ya. And also watching Prince of Darkness, it was a great John Carpenter film. Once again, nothing above and beyond, not one of his best films. I've seen better work from him. But was it still a great, great watch, and definitely something I would say However, I did notice something a little bit different from this than the original release. And that's the fact that this has a running time of 50 minutes, whereas the original... Shit!